What if I told you that the next 12 months of your life would look exactly like the last 12 unless you decide otherwise? What if I told you that the most dangerous trap isn't failure but drift, and that millions of men waste years of their lives not because they're broken, but because they never decided to rise? Listen to me closely. This is not a speech. It is a line in the sand. It is not information. It is transformation, but only if you choose to install it. You are not here to be entertained. You are here to be awakened. Because if you're honest with yourself, something inside you has known for a long time that you are capable of more. But knowing is not enough. Most men know. Few decide. Fewer still act. And almost none repeat that action until it becomes identity. And that's what separates the builders of destiny from the victims of drift. Let me ask you a question I once asked the greatest minds of my generation. What is your life costing you right now? Because you're not living it with absolute purpose. I've studied the lives of Edison, Ford, Lincoln, Schwab, and Carnegie, not to admire them, but to extract what made them inevitable. And here's what I discovered. They did not live by chance. They lived by choice. They did not drift. They decided. They did not hope. They moved. And most of all, they never wasted years waiting for permission, for motivation, or for the perfect time. They didn't get lucky. They got to work. If you're listening to this right now, it's because something inside you knows that the way you've been living, waiting, wandering, wishing, cannot continue. Another year lost in confusion, another year lost to comfort, another year wasted in the quicksand of hesitation, overthinking, and invisible fear. You already know where that path leads. It leads to forgotten dreams. It leads to a weak identity. It leads to regret on your deathbed when the ghosts of your untapped potential stand around you and ask why you never gave them life. You are not meant to repeat the same year 10 times and call it progress. And yet, that's exactly what most men do. They make vague resolutions. They speak big words, but they change nothing. They wake up the same man every day because they never install the discipline required to become someone new. Understand this. Time doesn't change your life. You change your life, and only when you take control of your mind. The clock keeps ticking whether you act or not. And the harshest truth I've ever had to tell a man is this. The future does not get better by accident. It only gets better by design. If you want this year, this next chapter to be different, then you must become different. And the way you do that is not through emotion or motivation. It is through a process I've spent a lifetime refining. A process built on definite purpose, ruthless decision-making, autosuggestion repeated daily with emotion, mastery of thought, feeling, and action, relentless rhythm and repetition until identity changes. That is the only way. Let me make this painfully clear. This message will change nothing unless you choose to repeat it. You must not just hear this speech, you must install it. You must internalize it. You must return to it again and again until the old self breaks under the weight of your new belief. You don't need more information. You need reprogramming. Your current self, the one drifting, delaying, second-guessing, was built by repetition. Repetition of fear, repetition of excuses, repetition of half-hearted habits, and if repetition built the weak you, then repetition must now build the unbreakable you. That's why I say this. Do not just listen once. Listen every day, every morning, until this message becomes memory, until memory becomes instinct, until instinct becomes you. You have 12 months ahead of you. 12 chapters, 365 chances. The only question that matters now is this. Who are you becoming with them? Let this message mark the death of hesitation. Let this message become the beginning of clarity. Let this message be the signal that this is the year everything changes, because you finally do. Now breathe deep, because the next words you hear will strip away every excuse you've ever believed. And if you listen closely, if you burn this into your mind with repetition, with action, with fire, You'll never be the same man again. Let us begin. Let us speak plainly. Most men are not living. They are drifting. They do not decide. They defer. They do not walk with purpose. They wander in fog. They do not live by design. They exist by default. I call this condition drift. And if you do not master your mind, it will master you. And drift is the first symptom. In my private conversation with the allegorical devil, as recorded in Outwitting the Devil, I extracted his greatest tool for enslaving the minds of men. And what was it? Not addiction, and not violence, and not even fear. It was drift. He said to me, I cause people to drift through life without purpose or plan. I manipulate them through their habits, their appetites, their fears, and their laziness. I do not need to destroy a man. I only need to make him drift, and he will destroy himself. This is not fiction. This is the real enemy. A drifter is not a man who is evil. He is simply asleep. A drifter is not without potential. He is without purpose. A drifter is not doomed by fate. He is doomed by indecision. And what makes it worse? Most men never even realize they are drifting. They live the same day over and over again, convinced they are working towards something while they delay the very decisions that would change their life. They procrastinate. They overthink. They entertain every distraction the world throws at them. They say, I'll start next week. I'll figure it out soon. I just need more time. But days become months. Months become years. And suddenly they are middle-aged with no direction, still spinning in circles, still convincing themselves that someday they'll rise. Let me give you the harsh truth. Most men will die as drifters, and they won't even know it. They will leave no impact, build nothing of substance, and worst of all, they will go to the grave with their potential intact, untouched, unrealized, forgotten. Why? Because they never made the decision to take control of their mind. And so the world controlled it for them. You must understand this now. Drift is the default condition of the undisciplined man. If you do not have a plan for your life, you are already a part of someone else's. If you do not consciously direct your mind, it will unconsciously follow the path of least resistance. And that path, it leads to mediocrity. You must not accept this, because the pain of regret, the pain of what could have been, the pain of watching other men build legacies while you spin in hesitation, that pain is far worse than any pain discipline will ever require. I have said before, and I will say again, the man who cannot control his mind will never control his destiny. Now let me tell you the difference between the drifter and the decided. The drifter waits. The decided man acts. The drifter reacts to life. The decided man designs it. The drifter fears failure. The decided man knows failure is feedback. The drifter needs external permission. The decided man gives himself internal orders. You must become a decided man. You must declare war on drift. Not next week, not when it's comfortable, but now. And how do you do that? You install what I have called the definite chief aim. This is not a wish. It is not a vague desire. It is not a journal entry scribbled at midnight. It is the single dominating purpose of your life, written in stone, burned into your subconscious, repeated with emotion every single day until it becomes your identity. Without it, you will wander. With it, you will build. Your definite chief aim is your anchor in storms, your compass in confusion, and your fuel in fatigue. Every man who ever accomplished anything worthwhile, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Lincoln, had this one thing in common. They knew exactly where they were going. Not eventually, now, and you must decide the same. No more vague goals, no more soft intentions, no more, let's see how it goes. That mindset is for drifters. You are here to take command of your life. Let me give you a tool. Use it every morning. Speak it with power, with presence, with fire. Say it out loud. I know where I am going. I know who I am. I do not drift. I decide. I design. I dominate. Let this affirmation become your weapon. Let it destroy the old identity, the version of you that delayed, that hoped, that coasted. Every time you say it, your subconscious listens. And every time your subconscious hears it with enough emotion and repetition, it installs it as truth. This is not magic. This is mental engineering. You rewire your mind through repetition. You rewrite your identity through command. You must now build a life that drift cannot survive in. That means daily rituals. That means discipline. And that means removing every escape route back into the fog. Destroy the distractions. Burn the bridges to your old self. Because the cost of one more wasted year is not just 12 months. It is the erosion of your identity. You don't just lose time when you drift. You lose who you could have become. So hear me now. This is your wake-up call. Not from a friend, not from a boss, but from your own conscience. Drift is the silent killer of men. It doesn't attack you. It seduces you. It doesn't steal your life. It convinces you to give it away. And the only cure? Decision. Declare your definite chief aim. Burn it into your mind. And from this moment forward, repeat with me, I know where I am going and I refuse to drift. Say it daily. Say it with power. Because you will either program your mind or the world will do it for you. And I assure you, the world is built to keep you drifting. There is a secret that governs all progress. Before a man wastes his time, before he forfeits his opportunity, before he wakes up 1 year older but no closer to his dream, he first wastes his thoughts. He does not lose the year in his calendar. He loses it in his mind. A man's reality is not dictated by the clock, the economy, or the weather. It is dictated by the dominion he exercises over his thinking. And all that you are, all that you become, all that you achieve begins as thought. Every failure is first permitted in the mind. Every success is first constructed in the mind. This is not theory, it is law. I have stated in Think and Grow Rich, more gold has been mined from the minds of men than from the earth itself. And it is still true today. The average man lives by reaction. He is told what to think, what to fear, what to chase. He listens to voices not his own. He receives thoughts like a beggar receives crumbs and then wonders why his life feels so small. But the uncommon man, the man who becomes master of himself, he does not wait for life to tell him what to believe. He commands his mind. He says what will be thought. He decides what shall be believed. And he repeats those thoughts until they carve themselves into the very fabric of his being. Your year will not be wasted because you were too busy. It will not be lost because the conditions were difficult. Your year will be wasted if you allow the world to write your thoughts. Because the mind, left untrained, becomes a sponge, absorbing every fear, every limitation, every excuse. And soon, those thoughts become beliefs. Those beliefs become choices. Those choices become your calendar. Do you understand what I am saying? Your entire year is being built in advance, right now, by the silent procession of thoughts you entertain daily. That is why I have insisted for decades on the use of autosuggestion. The daily, deliberate, emotional repetition of chosen thoughts. This is how a man reclaims the pen of his own life story. If you do not practice autosuggestion, the world will perform it on you. You will be hypnotized, not by a man in a black cloak, but by the rhythm of distractions, the repetition of fear, the reinforcement of mediocrity. If you allow your mind to drift in thought, your body will drift in life. The great men I studied, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, each had the same secret. They repeated their aim. They visualized the result. They refused to permit a single thought that contradicted their objective. They were not lucky. They were intentional. They understood this truth. Thought is cause. Circumstance is effect. If you lose time this year, it is because you lost command. And if you waste another year, it will not be because you didn't have enough time. It will be because you failed to program the mind that governs time. A man cannot achieve externally what he has not first demanded internally. Your habits begin in your thoughts. Your direction begins in your thoughts. And even your self-respect begins in your thoughts. So let me ask you plainly, are you feeding your mind the thoughts of a king or the noise of a coward? Because every time you say, I'll wait, I'll see, I'll decide later, You are forfeiting the steering wheel of your life, and someone else is grabbing it. Every man walks in the direction of his most repeated thoughts. So if your thoughts are undisciplined, your life will be chaotic. But if your thoughts are governed, your path will be guided by strength. Let me share with you the tool that changed everything for me and for the thousands of men I've taught. It is daily autosuggestion with emotion. It is not merely repeating words. It is speaking them with power. It is writing them as law. It is engraving them into your soul through emotional repetition. You must speak the identity you are becoming, and you must do it daily, because the world speaks fear into you hourly. I do not say this for inspiration. I say it because your subconscious is always listening. It does not act upon occasional thoughts. It acts upon dominant thoughts. What you repeat with emotion becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you build. You may say to me, but Mr. Hill, what if I do not believe these words yet? And I would answer, you do not speak them because they are true. You speak them until they become true. You are not lying. You are leading your mind. You are not pretending. You are programming. Let the mind hear this daily without fail. I command my thoughts. I do not obey fear. I do not drift. I decide. I dominate. I write my year with intention. I write my day with purpose. I command my direction, and the world must follow. Say it upon rising. Say it before rest. Say it when the voice of doubt visits you. And say it not in whispers, but in declarations. You must visualize yourself walking in strength. You must see yourself rising while others delay. You must feel the power of command radiating from within, because what the world sees in you, what it gives to you, what it permits you to do, will always be in proportion to what you believe you are allowed to have. Do not let another year go by because you obeyed fear. Do not arrive at another December wondering how the months escaped you. The answer is always in the mind, so reclaim it now. Program it now. Repeat it now. This is how you destroy drift. This is how you build momentum. This is how you reclaim time before it is lost. Let me leave you with this. There are men who walk this earth as shadows, not because they were born weak, but because they never learned to think with power. And there are men who reshape history, not because of wealth or genius, but because they commanded their thoughts like a general commands his army. You have that same mind, you have that same ability, and you have this speech, this instruction as your tool. Use it, repeat it, install it, because your time is already being written, either by the world or by you. Say it once more with fire. I command my thoughts, I do not obey fear. Let that be the drumbeat of your day. Because when you own your mind, you own your year. And when you own your year, you change your life. Success is not a thunderclap. It is not a single explosion of opportunity or an accidental stroke of luck. Success, as I have seen in every man who ever rose to greatness, is the consequence of disciplined action repeated daily, day after day, with or without applause, with or without results, with or without the comfort of certainty. You must understand this if you wish to stop wasting time and finally begin building the life you were meant to live. Most men lose years waiting for the right moment. They delay because they believe that clarity, motivation, or fortune must first arrive at their door before they can begin their work. But I tell you now, this is a deception. There is no right time. There is only the time you decide to begin. All great structures are laid brick by brick, not in bursts of glory, but in quiet, unseen labor. Think of Thomas Edison. Do you believe the light bulb was born in a moment of genius inspiration? Number. It was built on the ashes of over 10,000 failed attempts, 10,000 silent trials mocked by the world, questioned by his own mind, but carried out because he understood this truth. Repetition is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the act of creating certainty where none yet exists. Edison knew that success was a structure, so he built it, piece by piece. And what of Henry Ford? He was laughed out of rooms. He was told his vision was nonsense. Even his own engineers doubted the possibility of his 8-cylinder engine. But Ford believed, and he believed repeatedly. Not just once in the morning when the sun was high, but over and over again through storms of failure and walls of rejection. He rehearsed belief until it took shape in metal and motion. That is not magic. That is rhythm. That is the science of persistence. Success does not descend from the clouds. It rises from your rituals. Every day you neglect your structure, your routine, your self-talk, your focus. You weaken the walls of your future. Every time you skip the basics because you feel uninspired or tired or discouraged, you begin to dismantle what you've spent days, weeks, months building. And it doesn't collapse all at once. It crumbles slowly, silently, subtly, until one day you look around and realize you are standing in ruins, not because life destroyed you, but because you refused to build. So I ask you, what is your structure? What are your daily non-negotiables? Do you rise with purpose or drift into each day by accident? Do you affirm your identity before the world speaks, or do you let the noise dictate who you become? You cannot expect to reap the rewards of greatness while living with the discipline of mediocrity. In my research with the world's most successful men, I discovered one common trait above all else. They each possessed a definiteness of purpose. That purpose was not vague, nor was it flexible to the emotions of the day. It was fixed, anchored, and each day they acted in alignment with it, not with overwhelming effort, but with disciplined, deliberate motion. They did not seek to do everything. They focused on doing the right things again and again until they became second nature. That is the structure. That is the foundation. If you want to stop wasting years, stop wasting days. And if you want to stop wasting days, then build your life around the non-negotiables. Decide what must be done every day to move your mission forward, and then do it regardless of how you feel. This is how steel is forged, under pressure, by fire, and through repetition. And your life will not be different. Your character, your strength, your results, these are the bricks. Discipline is the mortar, and your vision, that is the blueprint. Every day you skip the structure, you choose delay. Every day you honor it, you choose destiny. So what must be in your daily rhythm? A moment of silence to reconnect with your vision. A declaration of identity before the day begins. I build myself daily. I do not skip the foundation. A commitment to one key act of creation or progress, no matter how small, no matter how hard. A reflection each evening. Did I build or did I wait? Did I act like the man I aim to become, or did I drift into distraction? You do not need 1,000 perfect actions. You need a handful of faithful ones, executed with intensity and belief, again and again. This is how you change your life, not by chasing explosions, but by constructing something permanent. The grind is not glamorous, but it is holy. It is sacred, because each act of discipline is a vote for the man you are becoming. Each repetition, no matter how dull it feels in the moment, is another strike of the chisel against the stone of your old identity. And if you continue, if you do not stop, then one day you will look up and realize you have become the very vision that once seemed so distant, so unreachable, so foreign to your nature. That is how men are made. That is how legacies are forged. So I say again, success is not a singular act. It is not a spark. It is not luck. It is the result of building a structure and honoring it daily. The only question left is, will you build or will you drift? Repeat after me. I build myself daily. I do not skip the foundation. Say it every morning. Say it when no one is watching. Say it when you feel like quitting. Because the man who keeps building, even when no one claps, even when no one sees, he is the man the world cannot ignore forever. Now take a deep breath, look at the day ahead, and lay the next brick. There is no force more deadly to your progress than delay. Not failure, not fear, not fatigue. Delay is the silent killer. It creeps in wearing the costume of wisdom. It speaks in gentle tones, whispering, "Wait until you're ready. Wait for a better time. Wait until the path is clear." But those who obey this voice do not climb mountains. They remain where they are, forever waiting, forever preparing, forever postponing the very life they were meant to live. Let me be absolutely clear. Waiting for motivation is a lie. It is a betrayal dressed as logic. It is the dream's assassin. Motivation is a luxury. It is a guest who visits now and then, but cannot be trusted to wake you in the morning or carry you when you grow tired. The man who depends upon motivation is like a farmer who depends on the weather. He may see a harvest one year and nothing the next. If you study the lives of the men who shaped the world, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, you will find that none of them relied upon motivation. What they relied upon was decision. Swift, committed, final decision. Andrew Carnegie told me once, "The man who hesitates is already defeated. The opportunity is gone before he has even reached for it." He believed, as I do, that success belongs to those who act, not to those who wait for perfect conditions. What is the myth of someday, if not a fantasy? How many men go to their graves carrying visions that never saw the light of day? Ideas, ambitions, changes they promised they'd begin once they felt ready. I have walked among thousands of souls in pursuit of success, and I tell you now, most were not defeated by failure. They were defeated by delay. They waited too long, and the fire that once burned within them turned cold, buried beneath comfort, procrastination, and fear disguised as caution. If you are waiting for the right time, you must understand there is no such thing. The right time is now, and if you do not make it now, you will not make it ever. Emotional reasoning is one of the most dangerous habits a man can develop. It is the tendency to let feelings dictate action. I don't feel like it today. I'm too tired. I'm not inspired. These are the death sentences of dreams. The successful man, the man who becomes unshakable, does not obey his emotions. He commands them. He does not ask if the mood is right. He moves and lets the mood catch up. You must cultivate a bias for immediate execution. This is not recklessness. This is responsibility to yourself, to your vision, to the life you have been called to build. The moment the idea strikes, you act. The moment the fear whispers, you walk forward. The moment the path reveals itself, you do not pause to gather opinions or overanalyze. You go. This is how you build momentum. This is how you train your nervous system to trust you. When you act swiftly, you rewire your mind to believe, I am a man of execution. I am a man who decides. I do not delay. I do not wait. And in time, that belief becomes your identity. Thomas Edison did not wait for certainty before he began his experiments. He began, and in the process of action, clarity came. Henry Ford did not wait for everyone to agree before building his vision. He acted first and forced the world to adjust. You too must decide, will you continue to wait until the fear passes, or will you act and watch fear retreat? Because the truth is simple. Fear does not vanish with time. It vanishes with movement. Do not be the man who spends another year thinking about change. Do not be the man who talks of vision but refuses to walk the first mile. Do not be the man who lets a moment of hesitation steal decades of destiny. You are not here to delay. You are here to decide. You are not here to drift. You are here to move. You are not here to be ruled by moods. You are here to rule your mind. Repeat after me. I act when it's hard. I decide without delay. Let that be your battle cry every morning. Let that be your command when your feet hesitate and your hands tremble. For it is not the man who plans the most who wins. It is the man who moves first, who adjusts while in motion, and who refuses to wait another year. This is the law of immediacy. This is the standard of power. You do not rise by waiting. You rise by deciding and then acting again and again until the world bends to the will you forged in silence. Every man has felt fear. Every man who built something, who stood for something, who changed the world, walked with fear beside him. But let me tell you the dividing line between the average and the great. The weak obey fear. The strong do not. They feel it, they see it, but they do not let it lead. Thomas Edison was not fearless. He failed 10,000 times before inventing the electric light. What man could walk through that without fear? He feared wasting his life, losing credibility, being ridiculed by the world. And yet, he moved forward anyway. Henry Ford was not without doubt. He was called a fool, a dreamer, a man chasing nonsense. He risked everything, his money, his name, his future, on a vision no one believed in, and yet he built it anyway. Abraham Lincoln was not immune to darkness. He carried the weight of a nation on his shoulders through civil war and endless criticism. But he did not retreat from fear. He carried it into battle. Andrew Carnegie, who rose from poverty to become one of the wealthiest men the world has known, was no stranger to the anxiety of responsibility, the fear of failure, the fear of not measuring up. But he did not obey that fear. He mastered it. And so I say to you now, fear is not your enemy. Fear is a signal, a guidepost, a messenger, but the moment you obey it, bow to it, shape your decisions by it, you have handed it the throne. You have made it your king. Most men do not understand this. They think fear must go away before action can begin. They wait to feel brave. They wait for the doubt to disappear. And they wait forever. You do not wait for fear to fade. You move anyway. That is what separates the man who merely dreams from the man who becomes. Fear thrives in imagination. It grows in silence. It multiplies when left unchallenged. It builds castles in the mind, each one filled with disasters that have never happened. Fear paints the future in catastrophe. But remember this, so can courage. If fear can imagine the worst, then you must learn to imagine the best. You have a gift the animals do not have, the gift of will, of direction, of imagination. Use it. When fear paints failure in your mind, paint victory beside it. When fear shows you 100 ways you could fall, respond with one way you will rise, because you only need one way. The weak allow fear to speak and then obey what it says. The great allow fear to speak and then act in defiance of it. This is how power is built. Not by removing fear, but by refusing to serve it. How do you do this? With deliberate exposure, daily, repeatedly. You make fear a companion, not a master. You walk into conversations you once avoided. You take the step that feels too uncertain. You make the call. You write the letter. You stand in the silence of discomfort, and you breathe. You survive. And with each act of courage, fear loses its voice. This is not theory. This is training. Repetition rewires the nervous system. Every time you move toward what you fear, you weaken its grip. And every time you obey fear, you strengthen its chains. Alongside this practice of exposure, you must build rituals of identity. You must remind yourself daily who you are. The world will not remind you. The world will not whisper, "You are strong." No, it will echo your doubt. So you must counter it with words, with vision, with clarity. Wake each morning and say aloud, "Fear is my signal to act. I walk forward anyway." Say it again, with force, with certainty. Not because you feel it yet, but because repetition is the hammer that forges belief. Fear is not to be eliminated. It is to be dominated. You are not here to be ruled by shadows in the mind. You are here to command your direction, regardless of what the wind says. And let me tell you this, you will never feel fearless. That is not the goal. You will still shake. You will still doubt, but you will walk. And that walk, that forward motion despite fear, is where your power is born. There is no bravery without fear. There is no courage without trembling. The fire you feel is not a warning. It is a sign that you are alive. that you are near something meaningful. Let fear rise, and then rise higher. Do not pray for the fear to leave. Pray for the strength to move anyway. Do not wait for silence in the mind. Bring your own voice and speak louder. Do not ask whether you are ready. Decide that you are, and then prove it in motion. Repeat this with me. Fear is my signal to act. I walk forward anyway. This is your new command. Engrave it on your spirit. Let it guide you in the darkest hours. And when you feel that old familiar pull to retreat, to delay, to overthink, you will remember these words and you will move anyway. Because fear is not your ruler. And from this moment forward, it never will be again. The man you are today is not the man you must remain. Understand this deeply. Identity is not fixed. It is installed. It is not born. It is built. And it is built brick by brick through repetition, through the silent, invisible, and relentless repetition of thought, word, and deed. Your past does not define you. It only defines the version of you who repeated it. And unless you keep repeating that version, unless you continue to play the same script, recite the same doubts, feel the same limitations, you are free to become something entirely new. But most men do not understand this law. They believe they are trapped by the past. They point to their failures and say, "This is who I am." But failure is not a prophecy. It is programming. It is not your future. It is a pattern. And all patterns can be rewritten by a mind that is awake. In Think and Grow Rich, I taught the power of autosuggestion, not as a poetic phrase, but as a mechanical process of transformation. When a man deliberately repeats powerful ideas backed by emotion, clarity, and purpose, he rewires his entire belief system. The subconscious mind does not argue. It accepts. It obeys. And what it hears most often, it installs as truth. So I say this to you, what are you repeating? Are you repeating the voice of your past, the one that says, "I'm not good enough, it's too late, nothing ever works out for me"? Or are you rehearsing power? Are you saying, "I am capable, I rise through struggle, I shape my world by force of thought and action"? Because what you rehearse, you become. What you repeat, you remember. And what you remember, you begin to expect. And what you expect, you begin to live. Identity is repetition. And if you want to shed the old skin of weakness, hesitation, and self-doubt, you must speak a new identity into existence every day, not once, not for a week, but relentlessly, until the voice of the old self grows quiet, until the voice of strength becomes your only tone. You must repeat power, not pain. Let me give you an example. When Thomas Edison failed to produce a working light after hundreds, then thousands of attempts, he did not say to himself, "I am a man who fails." He did not recite his mistakes. He did not rehearse pity. He repeated the outcome he desired. He visualized it. He declared it. He believed in it before the world ever saw it. And it was this mental repetition, not the invention itself, that made his success inevitable. Henry Ford did the same. When others doubted his vision of a car for the masses, he repeated his belief until it became stronger than the voices around him, and stronger than the voices within. They did not stumble upon success, they installed it. They wrote it into the walls of their minds through focused repetition and unwavering self-command. And you must do the same. Begin today. Begin now. Repeat these words. I rehearse strength. I repeat power. Say them aloud, not softly, with conviction. Say them again tomorrow and the day after. And when doubt rises, and when fear speaks, and when failure whispers its lies, you drown it with your voice. Because the subconscious mind, my friend, does not understand truth. It understands repetition. If you feed it weakness, it installs weakness. If you feed it doubt, it obeys doubt. If you feed it power, clarity, and direction, it builds a man who cannot be broken. And this is not theory. This is the rhythm of all transformation. All change is repetition. All success is rhythm. All greatness is rehearsal of belief, 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 until it becomes identity. You say you want to be a leader, then rehearse it. You say you want to be confident, then repeat it. You say you want discipline, then affirm it until it becomes your new instinct. Do not rehearse pain. Do not relive mistakes. Do not retell the stories of failure. Bury them, replace them, not with empty hope, but with daily instruction. Remember, your subconscious mind is your builder, and it does not build what you want. It builds what you repeat. This is why men fall back into the same habits, even after success, because they forget to continue the installation. They forget to repeat the new identity. And so the old self creeps back in like an unwelcome guest, quiet, familiar, dangerous. You must never stop building. Never stop speaking your new name. Never stop reinforcing the man you are becoming, or the man you once were will take his place again. Write your identity every day, etch it with fire, speak it with authority, move with the certainty that what you repeat becomes what you are. I rehearse strength, I repeat power. This is your affirmation. This is your blueprint. This is the hammer that breaks the chains of your former self. Do not think this is too simple. Simplicity is the secret. The mind does not need complexity to change. It needs clarity, force, and frequency. Speak your truth, feel it, act on it, repeat it, and soon your old self, the one who doubted, delayed, and drifted, will be gone. In his place, there will be a man of direction, a man of certainty, a man whose every step is carved from conviction. Because he did not rehearse weakness, he rehearsed power. And so power became him. The future does not arrive uninvited. It is summoned by your present habits, by the quiet choices you make when no one is watching, and by the system of thought and action you have built or neglected to build. The year ahead is not an accident waiting to happen. It is a consequence waiting to be lived. Let me speak to you with clarity. Your habits today are already writing your calendar for tomorrow. And every man, whether he knows it or not, is a builder of futures. The only difference between the successful man and the defeated one is this: the successful man takes authorship. The defeated man lets life write his story for him. I have said it before, and I will say it again. You either control your mind or it controls you. Extend that further. You either control your time or it controls you. You either command your year or it commands you. There is no neutral ground. There is no pause in this game. Time is always writing something. What it writes is up to you. And here is the harsh truth that most never confront. What you do each day, how you rise, how you eat, how you think, how you act, this becomes your identity, and your identity becomes your destiny. Your calendar, when inspected honestly, is not a list of tasks. It is a mirror of belief. It reveals who you think you are, what you truly value, and how committed you are to your purpose. The weak man writes goals. The strong man writes systems. The dreamer scribbles down desires. The builder installs rituals. The man who drifts jots down vague plans and hopes for better days. But the man who leads himself builds a daily rhythm that ensures progress even on the hardest days. Let us speak plainly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your routines. Your ambition may lift your eyes, but it is your behavior that moves your feet. And what you repeat determines where you arrive. I once studied a man who never let the calendar slip from his command. Andrew Carnegie. Each week, without fail, he reviewed his actions, corrected his course, and re-anchored his focus on his definite chief aim. He did not hope to make progress. He engineered it. And that ritual of review, that habit of recalibration, was one of the most powerful weapons in his arsenal. He understood this. A man cannot steer his life without knowing where his time goes. A ship with no rudder drifts, and a man with no system becomes a ghost of his own potential. You must therefore become a steward of your time. You must not merely use your calendar, you must master it. Time is not a convenience, it is a currency. And every hour you spend is a vote for who you will become. If you wish to rise, then install a weekly ritual of review. Sit with yourself each week. Ask hard questions. What did I do that aligned with my mission? What did I allow that weakened me? Where did I act with purpose? And where did I drift? Write down the answers. Correct the course. Recommit. You will find more transformation in one honest review than in 10 pages of motivational speeches, because transformation is not born from hope. It is born from self-governance, from discipline, from deliberate effort applied again and again until it becomes natural. Let me give you a tool. I call it calendar discipline. Do not begin your week by asking, "What do I feel like doing?" Begin it by answering, "What must I do to honor my mission?" That one shift from feeling to principle will change your entire direction. Each Sunday or any fixed time, review the coming days. Block time for the work that builds you, for reading, for execution, for repetition of your belief systems. These are not optional. These are your spiritual armor, and they must be treated as sacred, because your time is not just about productivity, it is about identity. And what you give your time to, you become. You do not need a longer year. You need a tighter rhythm. You do not need a better plan. You need a stronger commitment. You do not need permission. You need discipline. Every successful man I have ever studied, from Edison to Ford to Schwab, treated time as treasure. They guarded it, defended it, allocated it to that which multiplied them, not that which diminished them. And so must you. Let this be your daily affirmation. My habits honor my mission. My time is mine. Say it with weight. Let it ring in your ears each morning before the world tries to steal your hours. Say it when distractions rise, when drift whispers, when laziness knocks. Say it until your subconscious no longer permits waste. Because remember this, your time is not just your schedule, it is your life. And the man who masters his time masters his destiny. Do not let another year write itself. Write it yourself, line by line, week by week, habit by habit, until one day you look back, not with regret, but with pride, because you did not hope for a future. You built one. There is no neutrality in identity. If you do not decide who you are, if you do not actively choose your self-concept, your purpose, and your values, then understand this, someone else already has. It may be the opinion of a parent, the pressure of a peer, the expectations of a society that loves comfort and rewards compliance. But make no mistake, the man who does not define himself is always defined by others. This is one of the cruelest truths I discovered in my research and interviews with the world's most powerful men. Not a single one of them drifted into greatness. Not one of them found himself by accident. Andrew Carnegie did not hope to become an empire builder. He decided it. Thomas Edison did not stumble upon invention. He trained himself to become the type of man who would not stop until it existed. Henry Ford did not adopt the world's idea of realistic. He imposed his vision upon the world and made it conform. This is the law. The world does not reward the man who waits to discover himself. It bends to the man who creates himself, daily, intentionally, and without apology. And yet, the average man lives by default. He mimics the moods and opinions of those around him. He adopts language that weakens him. He follows ideas that make him smaller. And when challenged, when the pressure rises, he retreats into phrases like, "That's just how I am," or "I'm not the kind of person who..." But what he fails to see is this. Identity is not a description. It is a decision. And until you make it, your life will not be yours. You may breathe, you may exist, but you will never truly live. Identity is not fixed in stone. It is formed in fire. You are not born with it, you build it. You install it through repetition. You anchor it with belief, and you reinforce it with action. Every day, This is why I wrote in Think and Grow Rich that one must engage in autosuggestion, the repetition of belief-laden statements spoken aloud with emotion and clarity. It is not a matter of positive thinking. It is the reprogramming of the subconscious mind, the seat of your identity. You must feed your subconscious identity statements with the same regularity and seriousness with which you eat and drink. A man who neglects to define himself daily is no different than one who forgets to eat. He becomes weak, vulnerable, and easy to sway. And let us be clear, someone is always feeding you an identity. Every conversation, every headline, every look of judgment from those who never dared to dream, it is all programming. The question is not if you are being shaped, but by whom. There is a reason I called the man who lacks a definite chief aim a drifter, because without the force of personal will, he floats, he bends, he conforms, he becomes whatever the world wishes him to be, and the world does not wish you to be powerful. It wishes you to be quiet, predictable, controllable. But the man who decides who he is, who affirms his identity with deliberate intention, who acts in accordance with the man he has chosen to be, he is unstoppable. Let us return to the example of Charles M. Schwab. As a young man, he was told he did not possess the intellect to lead. He was criticized for being too ambitious, too forward-thinking, too brash, but he rejected those voices. He refused to allow others to define him. Instead, he repeated to himself who he was becoming until the world had no choice but to follow his example. That is the power of internal conviction. The man who defines himself cannot be defined by others. The man who moves from identity cannot be manipulated by environment. Your environment is not your master. It is your mirror, and it will always reflect back the image you project with the most consistency. So I ask you, who are you choosing to be? Not who do you hope to become one day, not who do you think you might be if things go well, but who have you decided to be now, in this moment, before any external evidence exists? Identity always precedes reality. The man who waits to act until he feels confident never becomes confident. But the man who chooses to be confident acts with power, and in doing so becomes the man he decided to be. This is the mystery most never uncover. Action reinforces identity, and identity produces action. It is a cycle, a loop, one that you can either allow to be run by chance or take the reins and command with purpose. You want to change your life? Then change the way you speak to yourself. Change the words you repeat when no one is listening. Change the posture you assume when you walk into a room. Not for others, but for your own subconscious to witness, because your mind watches your every move and takes notes. It says, this is who we are now. Very well, I shall adjust accordingly. Repeat with me. I decide who I am. I do not wait to be told. I walk with certainty, not permission. I move from identity, not emotion. Speak that every morning, every evening, when fear rises, when uncertainty knocks, when failure threatens to whisper shame. Speak it again. You must become your own greatest influence. The man who leads his thoughts will lead his world. Let us also remember what Abraham Lincoln faced: uncertainty, division, threat of collapse. Yet he did not question who he was. He had already decided, and that identity, forged through years of quiet conviction and principled repetition, became the anchor of a nation during its darkest hour. He did not feel presidential. He decided to be a president. That decision carried him through storms that would have destroyed lesser men. You have that same power. It is not locked in a title. It is not stored in a diploma. It is not found in applause. It is built in silence, spoken into existence, and reinforced with discipline. You cannot fake your way into greatness, but you can repeat your way there. So let me leave you with this. If you wish to build a year you will not regret, begin by building a man the world cannot ignore. Repeat the identity you desire until it becomes the identity you live. Speak it aloud, walk it out, act like it already exists. Because once you define yourself, the world will bend to your certainty. And when the world bends, you will not be surprised, because you will know it was not luck, it was not timing, it was not fate, it was identity, installed, reinforced, repeated, until it became you. Say it again with me. I decide who I am. I repeat it until the world agrees. In my lifetime of studying the principles of success, observing the minds of powerful men, and identifying the silent killers of ambition, I discovered that all failure, all hesitation, all surrender to mediocrity stems from 6 basic fears. These fears are so deeply rooted in the human experience that most men never identify them, let alone conquer them. But make no mistake, if you do not confront these fears, they will quietly dismantle every dream you've ever held. They do not arrive like storms. They do not roar. They whisper. They influence thought, weaken willpower, and turn strong men into drifters. These 6 basic fears are the invisible chains that keep most men from rising. But what one man can conquer, any man can conquer, if he is willing to study, face, and overcome. Let us examine each fear, understand its root, and build a strategy of liberation. 1. The fear of poverty. Nothing paralyzes a man faster than the fear that he will not have enough. The fear of poverty is the oldest and most pervasive of all fears. It drives men to play small, to cling to security, to hoard their talents instead of investing them. It is not the lack of money that destroys most, it is the fear of lacking. This fear is rooted in the survival instinct in centuries of hardship and scarcity. But in the modern world, it no longer serves, it enslaves. How many men have denied their destiny because of the fear of losing a paycheck? How many have abandoned vision in favor of playing it safe? The man ruled by this fear will never take the risks required for greatness. How to overcome it? Build faith through action. Wealth flows to the man of value. Begin providing value, and the flow begins. Develop a definite chief aim. Purpose destroys poverty thinking. When you are focused on what you are building, you stop worrying about what you may lose. Practice abundance thinking. Tell yourself, there is always more. More opportunity, more ideas, more value to give. Affirmation. I do not fear poverty. I create wealth through service, vision, and discipline. 2. The fear of criticism. More dreams have died from this fear than from failure itself. The fear of criticism turns bold men into silent observers. It keeps books unwritten, businesses unstarted, speeches unspoken. It teaches a man to trade his vision for approval. This fear is rooted in childhood. Many were shamed for speaking out, mocked for trying, laughed at for dreaming. And so the subconscious learned, be quiet, stay safe. But no man has ever risen to power by being silent. Every great leader, every innovator, every man of consequence has been criticized, violently, publicly, relentlessly, yet they stood anyway. How to overcome it? Detach from opinion. Understand that critics rarely build. They observe. Their voice has no weight unless you assign it. Build internal validation. Praise yourself when you move with courage. Build a private scoreboard based on effort, not approval. Act in public deliberately. Start speaking more. Publish your ideas. Lead even when trembling. Affirmation, I am not ruled by critics. I am built by purpose, not permission. 3. The fear of ill health. This fear turns strong men into worriers, hypochondriacs, and passive patients of life. The fear of ill health feeds on every ache, every symptom, every strange feeling. It becomes a magnifying glass, distorting small signals into massive threats. And the more a man focuses on illness, the more he programs his body to fail. You must understand, thought influences biology. The mind that fears sickness will invite it. The man who obsesses over disease will live in weakness, even if his body is whole. This fear steals joy, spontaneity, and energy. It keeps men in retreat mode, always cautious, always hesitant. How to overcome it? Adopt a proactive health philosophy. Eat well, move daily, breathe with intention. You are not fragile, you are a fortress. Use visualization. Picture your body healing, strengthening, moving with ease. Replace symptom obsession with life obsession. Instead of scanning for sickness, scan for opportunity. Affirmation: I am healthy, strong, and full of energy. I build my body with thoughts, habits, and gratitude. 4. The fear of loss of love. This fear has brought more jealousy, rage, and despair than any other. The fear of losing love, whether from a partner, a parent, or the admiration of others, drives men to chase approval, cling to relationships, and avoid rejection at all costs. It is the root of neediness, of possessiveness, of cowardice in love and life. The man who fears the loss of love will never act boldly, for he has placed his worth in the hands of another. But true love, real, powerful, life-altering love, can only be experienced by the man who loves without fear, who stands in his truth, with or without applause. How to overcome it? Anchor love within, not without. Know your worth. Give love from abundance, not need. Accept the impermanence of life. All things may fade, but who you are remains. Trust in truth. Speak it. Live it. Love rooted in truth can never truly be lost. Affirmation: I give love freely and fearlessly. I do not beg for affection. I stand whole and strong, with or without it. 5. The fear of old age. This fear has created more despair in men past their prime than almost any other. The fear of aging is not a fear of years. It is a fear of irrelevance, of no longer mattering, of being forgotten. But let us not forget, the wisest among us are those who have walked through fire. The sage is not a youth, he is an elder, the man with years behind him and lessons engraved in his soul. Age, to the drifter, means loss. To the driven man, it means power. How to overcome it? Redefine aging. Let each year add to your strength, not subtract. Remain in motion, goals, purpose, mentorship. Continue building, value wisdom. Share what you've learned. Become a lighthouse for younger men. Affirmation: my age is my strength. My wisdom is my weapon. My purpose does not retire. 6. The fear of death. Perhaps the deepest of them all, the final fear. The fear of death paralyzes those who have not lived. It terrifies the man who has betrayed his calling, buried his dreams, and silenced his voice. It visits him in the quiet hours and whispers, "You never truly lived." But for the man of purpose, for the man who builds, serves, gives, and leads, death is not the end. It is the punctuation of a life well lived. You cannot control the timing of death, but you can control how fully you live. How to overcome it? Live daily with urgency. Say what must be said. Do what must be done. Build legacy. Invest in work that outlives you. See death as a teacher. Let it remind you to stop drifting. Affirmation: I do not fear death. I fear a life unlived. I rise daily with purpose and leave nothing undone. Now let us be clear. You will never fully eliminate fear. That is not the goal, but you can learn to outgrow it, to see it, name it, and move forward anyway. The man who conquers these 6 fears does not become invincible. He becomes intentional. He chooses thought over reaction, purpose over panic, action over avoidance. He does not bow to fear. He walks beside it, never letting it touch the wheel. Repeat these truths. Speak these affirmations. Build rituals around courage. Because if you do not rise above fear, it will always drag you below your potential. So I say it now, and I ask you to speak it with me. I am not ruled by fear. I face it. I understand it. I rise above it, and I lead my life with courage and clarity. Now, walk forward. The fears will whisper, but they will not win. There is a power so strong, so decisive, so essential to all success, that without it, no amount of work, no effort, no dream shall ever come to fruition. That power, my friend, is faith. And before you confuse it with blind belief, let me speak clearly. I am not referring to hope. I am not referring to luck. I am not even speaking of religion. I am speaking of faith as a state of mind, an emotionalized belief so definite, so commanding, that it reshapes the very rhythm of your thoughts and directs your subconscious to act with precision toward its object. If the next year of your life is to be anything more than a tired repetition of your last, then you must develop unshakable faith, not in chance, not in fate, but in your own power to create what does not yet exist. Let me remind you, every great achievement began not with action, but with belief. Before Henry Ford changed the world, he believed he could. When others mocked, when his own engineers claimed the V8 engine was impossible, Ford did not argue. He simply repeated the words, "Build it anyway." That is faith. Faith backed by decision, by will, by identity. Thomas Edison, when he faced failure after failure, experiment after experiment that yielded nothing but defeat, did not let his belief waver. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Faith carried him, not talent, not resources, not public support. Faith. What is faith truly? Faith is not passive. It is not sitting back and waiting for life to improve. Faith is active belief. It is a mental repetition of certainty so strong that the subconscious accepts it as truth. And once it does, it organizes your actions, your energy, and your opportunities around that truth. You see, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between fact and belief. It does not reason. It simply obeys. If you say to yourself, "I am weak, I always fail, I never follow through," your subconscious listens. It installs that identity, and you live it. But if you say, "I was made for this, I succeed because I decide to, my faith is stronger than fear," and you repeat it with emotion, with conviction, with certainty, then your subconscious says, "Very well," and begins to organize your life around it. Faith is not a warm feeling. It is a practiced power. It is installed, not gifted. It is built like a fortress, one brick at a time, through repetition. This is why I have long taught the law of autosuggestion, because the mind will believe what it hears most often, especially when spoken by you, to yourself with feeling. Let me give you a truth that few accept. You do not need evidence to believe. You need belief to find evidence. Faith comes first. It always does. Every breakthrough, every transformation, every empire, every invention, it all began in the mind of a man who had no proof, no path, only an internal fire that said, "It is possible, and I will not stop until it is done." And so I ask you now, do you have that fire? Because the next year of your life will not be shaped by your job, your location, your circumstances, or your resources. It will be shaped by your belief in your ability to rise. You may say, "But Hill, I don't feel that belief. I don't know how to build it." And to that I say, repetition is the master key. You do not need to feel strong to speak strength. You must speak strength until you feel it. Here is the exercise I gave to thousands of men in my lifetime, and I give it to you now. Faith-building ritual. Create a statement of definite purpose. Write down clearly what you desire to achieve in the next 12 months. It must be definite, not vague, not hopeful, precise. Affirm it aloud twice daily. Upon waking and before sleep, speak it aloud, with emotion, with certainty. Let your words ring with finality. Visualize it as already real. Do not imagine trying. Imagine it complete. See the life. Feel the pride. Smell the air. Walk in that reality. Write an identity statement. Example: I am a focused, decisive man. I am not ruled by fear. I finish what I start. Repeat that identity statement until you become it. Daily, without fail, no excuses. Your identity is a sculpture. Each repetition carves the stone. This ritual is not optional. It is the foundation. Because let me be painfully clear. If you do not program your faith, the world will program your doubt. You will be fed beliefs by society, by media, by weaker men, beliefs that tell you to shrink, to wait, to hope, to be realistic. And those beliefs, once repeated, will become your cage. You must not let that happen. The man who builds faith becomes the master of his destiny. Let me say that again. The man who builds faith becomes the master of his destiny. Faith is not weakness. It is power concentrated into focus. It is the ability to believe in what is not yet visible. It is the ability to stay the course when results are nowhere in sight. It is the refusal to drift. Carnegie had it, Ford had it, Lincoln had it, and you must build it. There will be moments, perhaps even tomorrow, when you feel like giving up, when the old identity whispers, maybe you can't. And on that day, you must speak your identity louder than your doubt. You must say, I am not who I was. I am becoming who I choose to be. I was made to create. I was made to build. I believe in my ability to finish what I start. And you must say it not once, not twice, but until your voice no longer shakes, until your subconscious believes you, until your posture matches the words, until your behavior obeys your commands. That is faith in action. You want the next year to be your breakthrough? Then believe it before you see it. Act like it before it is obvious. Commit before it is easy, because faith, true faith, is not proven by words. It is proven by movement. So rise now, stand taller, speak stronger, walk forward, not because the path is clear, but because you have chosen to become the man who makes the path clear. The next 12 months are waiting, but they will not wait forever. Claim them with faith, shape them with repetition, and lead them with unshakable vision. You are not here to drift. You are not here to repeat the past. You are here to create a future so strong, so undeniable, that even your former self no longer recognizes you. And it begins with belief. You've now heard the laws. You've seen the enemy. You've been shown the weapons. And now you must decide, not someday, not next week. Now, because your future will not respond to a thought. It will not rise to a hope. It obeys only one master, a man who makes a decision and repeats it daily. Let me speak plainly. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are simply untrained in the discipline of identity. But that training can begin today, right now. And it begins with one principle that has followed us from the very beginning of this message. Repetition is the seed of all power. This was the secret behind Andrew Carnegie's rise from poverty. This was the method Thomas Edison used to build an empire of invention. This was the law Henry Ford lived by as he turned disbelief into industry. And this is the law you must now live by. Because you cannot simply listen once and hope to change. You must return. You must repeat. You must install the identity of the man you have chosen to become. Think of it this way. Your current beliefs, your current habits, your current results, they were all built the same way, through repetition. You rehearsed your excuses, you repeated your doubts. You listened to the voice of fear more than the voice of purpose, and so your results became predictable. But what if, starting now, you reverse the rhythm? What if, instead of rehearsing hesitation, you rehearse certainty? What if, instead of repeating weakness, you repeated strength? What if you returned to this speech, not once, but daily, and let these truths sculpt the stone of your identity? Do not underestimate this. You want a new year? Then you must build a new rhythm, because the man who listens once is entertained. The man who listens twice is reminded. But the man who listens until he transforms, that man becomes unshakable. Let me leave you with a command, not a suggestion. Say this aloud, not quietly, not passively. Say it like your next 12 months depend on it, because they do. I do not drift. I do not delay. I do not obey fear. I am the builder. I am the decision. I am the result. I repeat power daily. I rise by repetition. I finish what I begin. Say it again. Write it down. Return to it, because this is not a one-time speech. This is your blueprint. This is your weapon. This is your fire. lit now and fanned into a blaze by repetition. Now go. The world will not wait. Neither should you. The next year has already begun, so rise now and own it.